Good evening and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. And of course, we are talking all things Sporting Press, online edition Irish Oaks. But apart from that, well, there's so much to touch upon. We have the Callaway Rambler at Stud Race of Champions from Tralee. We have the English Derby. We have the GRI Summer Open 525. We also, of course, have the National Produce Stakes from Clonmel and one or two other things, including the Denis Linehan Solicitors Unraced Stake at Curraheen Park. As always, I'm joined by the exile dub Tommy Lyons, and from the Sporting Press, a man who used to be one of the gamekeepers, now a poacher, Frank Kiernan. Frank, a great weekend of Greyhound sport. Sort of hard to keep abreast of it all.
Yeah, there was a lot on all fronts and on both sides of the pond, but yeah, it was super weekend's action, and we've got a great Oaks winner for the competition we sponsor in Crafty Shivoo.
We certainly did. Tommy Lyons, if I told you to watch the race on Saturday night at Shelbourne Park and you didn't have any prior knowledge of them, I told you that the winner was a 4-7 chance you'd gone, yeah, I can see that. It was a thoroughly brilliant display from a lady who is very much on an upward curve. We did suggest she was improving all the time. We both believed she was a big price last week. You were certainly more, like, I think you tipped her up, Crafty Shivoo, did you? Yeah. She really did take a step forward. It came out since that she had actually been bought after the second round by the partnership down in the UK. She's to join Mark Wallace, where she will be chasing a second Oak success in England. And I wouldn't put it against her. I potentially think this could be a superstar in the making.
I don't see any reason why she couldn't, Dean. I think that was a fantastic run the other night. She didn't fly out, showed terrific early pace, but the bit I loved most about it was the fact that they had it down to about two and a quarter lengths maybe around the final two bends, and she won by 3.5. Like, she's powering up the straight as well, doing that 28-14. She has it everywhere, and she's improving. Like, we had good chats about this over the last few weeks, and I felt today when she really caught my eye most. Well, for initially maybe made the strongest impression was the day she was third to Undisputed. She had worked so hard, and it just cost her late on, and she faded a bit. And I thought she has a huge run. And then I thought, even though the clock doesn't say it, I thought her semi-final run was a career best effort up until the final. I felt that even though obviously Dream picked her up, she had run so hard to try get by Boyle Sports Coke and put so much into that. By the time she'd done that, she kind of left herself a little bit vulnerable and got picked off. But I still thought it was a step in the right direction. And like, obviously 28-14 is another huge step forward. So she's only had whatever about maybe 12 or 13 runs. And she's entitled to be continue to improve. I think she's potentially a real star, yeah.
Frank, race number 13 for this lady. Dare I say it was a touch Susie Sapphire-esque. She didn't take the flyer that Susie Sapphire did in her Oaks final, but the way she raced up to the corner, she flew down the back straight. Like, I have her down entering the back straight, maybe 2.25 in front, 2.5 by halfway, nearly 3 at the third. They sort of closed her, as Tommy said, back to about 2.25. Kicked again. I was surprised when I saw that she'd won 3.5 lengths. Like, this was certainly a career best display, but you don't get the impression that this is going to be a one-time thing.
No, definitely not. As you say, it looked like she a couple of lengths going into the back straight. She nursed that advantage. She did close a little bit, then she kicked again. But last few weeks, you kind of noticed that about her. She had been sort of staying that little bit stronger and getting stronger and staying that little bit better. And you definitely imagine this is only maybe the start of something special. Like, and I suppose if there's a negative, they put down their money, they bought her, and she's going across the pond, and she'll take a world of beating over there. But the way she's kicking on, saying you referenced Susie Sapphire, such a shame so close to the Derby that she'll not be, because you can imagine the way she run the other night when she kicked clear for them again. They didn't make any inroads on her. That she was a lady who was going to could well have given the Derby a rattle as well. Like,
my exact thoughts after the race were, I'll have to try to go down the Susie Sapphire route here with her, and like I have to tell you, like I'm devastated that she's going across the pond. And listen, I wish her the best of luck and the new connections the best of luck, but wouldn't it be lovely to see her in action in Ireland for the next year? It would be just fantastic. And we'll talk about the consolation final in a few minutes, but when you consider that, like, even the top four in the consolation, like, that was some race, some quality there. The standard of pitches again in this country is just unbelievable at present. Crafty Shivoo was the great winner. Scooby Duchess is second in the Oaks for the second year running. The third year running, Jennifer O'Donnell has had the runner-up. That must be some sort of a record. Tommy, Scooby Duchess, did her proud. She told me about the night in Kilkenny, what's that, 3-4 weeks ago, that she said like the bitch is probably still a month away from being in the form she needs to be to get closer than Oaks. I think she was a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of her arrival. I thought she had no chance from top 6. She ran a huge race to be second.
She ran a brilliant race, and you know what? Even though you say when they'll need the runs and they need a bit of time, they don't necessarily need the runs every week. If you know what I mean, during that period, sometimes you need a little bit of a break, and maybe the whole run through the Oaks took a little bit of a toll, because even though it was a superb run, we know she's even better than that, and she's not far off it. I'd imagine if she got a week off and came back down to Shelbourne Park in 2 weeks' time, she'd do a huge run. Like the race was funny in the sense that obviously Bobsleigh Dream missed it completely. Druby Timing went for the rails early. Glengar Marta flew out. I didn't see her turning second, to be honest about it. I didn't predict that. I think the race was half turned on its head. Just after getting going, and I thought she was quite well positioned, Scooby Duchess, and that's why I'd give, even though I think Scooby Duchess is obviously better than that. That's why I'd even give more, plaudits to Crafty Shivoo for winning so far, 3.5 lengths. I think it's a monster run. Do you know, just going back to the winner for a moment. Even the run with Undisputed, when we were kind of wondering, did Undisputed kind of throw it away, or did just things not go right for the night that night? Look at how the form is stacked up. One of them wins the Oaks final, one wins the consolation, 28-14, 28-24. It was a fabulous race at the time, but I don't think we really realised how good it was that night. I think that was in the second round. Was it? But Glengar Martin ran her heart out as well, Ian, didn't she? I mean,
she ran a blinder. Like, she is every bit as inexperienced as the winner. She's joint youngest. She's an October 21 whelp. I'm sure Pat Buckley was, I'm sure there was plenty of eyes on Bobsleigh Dream, who we'll get to in a moment, off the second bend. It was clear she wasn't going to win from the early yards. Just never really got involved early, just the way it happened. But off the second bend, he must have felt Glengar Martha has a shout here, because she's been finishing very strongly, which again sort of highlights how well Crafty Shivoo and Scooby Duchess won or ran, that that she wasn't second, but she's beaten 3.5 lengths and a short margin in 28-14. Like, it's still a massive run, and I'm sure they're excited about where the future will go with Glengar Martha. But again, it all brings it back to Crafty Shivoo, how big a run it was from her. Let's talk about Bobsleigh Dream. She was obviously the warm favorite. She's won 2 classics in the past, and I suppose, Tommy, from the outset, this was how you felt the 525 would probably run out. This how it would be with her in the 525. Now, she had proven in the previous weeks that it wasn't a bother to her. Certainly on the track, when it was running that little bit slower, track was going well the other night, and bang, Speed Merchant gets loose and isn't coming back to them. And Bobsleigh Dream, while running a massive race, like the pace she showed to get as close as she did to second and third is unbelievable. You consider how far back she was, but it was just too much of a speed test, you'd imagine, on Saturday night.
That's exactly it. She loses nothing in defeat, really, because I mean, she missed the kick. She went back to a 2:37 or something like that, I think, a sectional. And if you look back to when she missed the kick did a similar clock earlier in the competition behind Undisputed, she kind of ended up doing 28:60 that night. She ends up 28:62. I think she ends up doing 28:49 the other night, I think it was. She's effectively running better. She's running really well, despite everything going against her. It's just a concern. Declan O'Donoghue was of the same opinion last week when we were chatting about it. We just thought this might be the night when the 525, the sharpness of the 525 trip just catches up with her, and that's all it was, because she ran her heart out. I mean, you look at the quality that was in front of her, and it was just a pity what happened at the third bend between Quivers Magic and Druby's Timing. It kind of exaggerates. It looks terrible, but they kind of clipped together at the third bend. It's very unusual the way it happened. But like Bobsleigh Dream ran a super race, really, in defeat, because it was over. I think you called it early in commentary as well. I mean, it was quite obvious, wasn't it? It was just too much, and you knew the quality. I mean, she had come from behind really good dogs and bitches in the past, in winning whatever she won in the past. But like, you had Scooby Duchess in front of you, with Crafty Shivoo, an improver who was clear. I mean, it was going to take something like out of this world. It was just an impossible task, to be honest about it.
Yeah. Frank, any other thoughts on the Oaks final, other than we have a superstar to look forward to, unfortunately, across the water?
Yeah, that's it. And you just don't big Bobsleigh Dream. Like, race would be won in 28:30 or 28:40, she might have got closer. She might have done that historic treble. But listen, it's 28:14 to win in Clonmel. That's the joint fastest, along with Rahamoko's last year. Like, it's not too many going to come from behind a lady doing that, no matter how good you are and how strong you are later on. But listen, yeah, it's been a cracking Oaks. Again, fantastic winner and some great racing throughout it. And again, as you said, bitches are some of the best bitches. Probably it's last 2 or 3 years there's been a real run of bitches running at the next top level in this country. And thankfully, the majority of them are staying here. We're losing this lady, but I'd say she'll draw plenty of attention across the water. And sure, who knows, we might see her back at some stage for maybe a Night of Stars or something later in the year. She'll definitely be a draw card on that effort last week.
Yeah, if Mark Wallace or the MWD, is it the MWD partnership? If any of them were watching, remember Fabulous Azura came and won the bitch race at the Night of Stars last year, or the Winter Racing Festival. Wouldn't it be great to make it 2 for the UK? Although, you know, sure, the Divilly clan would love to take her in for a couple of nights if you wanted. We have to mention the Divillys, of course. Frank, obviously, very much a coursing family, but in recent years, they've started to focus a little bit more on the track side. Crafty Kokoro won a classic for them last year. Recently retired. She was their number one coming into the Oaks, and here we are a matter of weeks later, and another superstar, albeit leaving their kennel, but they were absolutely buoyant on Saturday night.
Yeah, there's some run, like, it just goes to show, you say it, they are coursing people through and through. The crack game, they've taken a little bit into the last couple of years. I think that Noel maybe did run up an Oaks back in the day on the track as well, maybe back 15, 20 years ago. But yeah, they're known as coursing people. But again, they're not afraid to sell. Like, the majority of us, I think maybe if you had won in the Oaks at Crafty Shivoo at the start, you'd be hedging your bets, maybe hold on to her and stuff.
I wonder are they regretting it a little bit now at this stage, you know yourself.
Exactly. It's easy saying hindsight, I suppose. It's a bit like JT Jordan a few years ago as well. Like, but if the offer's put on the table, it's hard to say no. You know how busy they're going to be with the coursing season coming up. And like, so their little brother, they're a fortnight to go after he won an Unraced stake and things. So maybe the sense in it, like, you know, the right those put on the table, it's hard to say no. She still had to win the Oaks.
I would say that if Crafty Kokoro hadn't been retired the week prior and she was off to the breeding paddocks there and then, I think they may have held on to her. Does that make sense, Crafty Shivoo? But yeah, you know, she's obviously worth a fortune at breeding as well, going down the line. So very interesting to see how this story goes in the future of her career. She's a star. We have to mention Quiver's Magic and Drewby's Timing. It didn't happen for them the other night, but they played such a big part in making this a great competition. Like Drewby's Timing, you know, she's November 19 whelp. She's not going to have too many more nights at the big table, but she could have a cracking end of year. Like, and I'm sure they'll be targeting, you know, 1 or 2 of the big bitch races and maybe have a go at the Night of Stars later in the year. Quiver's Magic, she's very much, you know, she's only a March 21 whelp, so we'll see plenty more of them. Just didn't happen for the other night, Tommy, but they did play their part in making this a wonderful Oaks.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Drewby Timing maybe go to the laurels down the line. Quiver's Magic just had a difficult draw, and then when she missed the kick completely, she left herself vulnerable to something happen, and it did happen. Drewby Timing came across, and she was chasing shadows from an early stage. It was a pity because she had been. I mean, I was talking to people on Saturday night thinking before the race, they were thinking that if she could just break and even track Crafty Shivoo around the opening bends, which was a plausible way to look at the race, to try to read the form, that she might play a part because she stays well as well. But it just didn't happen. But she, like, we've seen enough of her during this competition to know how good she is.
Yeah, she certainly is. Let's talk about the undercard. We'll talk about the Oaks Consolation first before we got to the Summer Open 525. This was I would say, of all the consolation finals through the years, I think this was one of the very best I've seen on paper beforehand, as well as the way it worked out. Like, while it was a 2-dog race in a sense from the early stages, you know, you have Droopy's Nice One and Easy Razzle just in behind. I thought Easy Razzle ran an unbelievable race in third, but undisputed, and Teresa's Mendoza really served up an absolute thriller. Frank, this was Greyhound racing at its very finest.
Yeah, like, you could have thrown a blanket nearly over them on the run to the first corner. They had 2 nipped in front, undisputed, turned in front. You think to yourself, she's going to possibly kick on. Mendoza gives it to her down the back straight, and they just go hell for leather, nothing between them. Mendoza kicks off the last. You think to yourself, around the closing bench, you think that's it. That's fate seed now. And yet, on the undisputed, find that little bit more. Arguably, maybe that little bit of stamina in the down lane probably stood to her, and I'd be surprised to see her pick her up. I definitely did. I thought once Teresa's Mendoza went in front, given some of the clock she has in her book, when she went for front turnover home, I said to myself, this is over and done with. But no, she found that a little bit more. And some night for Wayne McCarthy with Jack Ballinbola
Yeah.
qualifying across the pond as well.
Yeah, he was in Towcester. He wasn't in Shelbourne Park, but he was watching on. I got a text soon after. He was a very happy chappy. Tommy, these four bitches, the first four home, like it's a no-brainer. They go into the Derby, don't they?
Um, I think they have to. I think they have to. Easy Rattle's not doing it right at the moment. Just not putting everything together in the sense of all the components are there. They're just not clicking in properly. She can break better, and she does stay. And
I
you
think
know,
this was
I
her
think
most impressive run, though. I think this was the run where I went, like this lady, this is serious. Like, you know what I mean? She could be unbelievable.
yeah, like everything went wrong for her in the semi-finals. She was showing semi-final the Oaks, she was showing pace up into the bend and got done and whatever else. The other night, like you'd have to say that the winner would have to go for the Derby, considering that she had Teresa Mendoza, you know, in on her inside with the advantage of the rails, right upside her going out of the second bend, and you're thinking, God, Teresa Mendoza will probably win from here. She's a strong running bitch, and yet Undisputed ran on to win by a length and maintained her advantage all the way to the escape. But what's more than that, Teresa Mendoza also kept Easy Razzle and Droopy Nice One at bay all the way to the escape as well, which tells you how strong Undisputed was, because
Mm.
we know Teresa Mendoza is. So again, that harps back to the race between Undisputed and Crafty Shivoo. What a race that was, and what a performance it was by Crafty Shivoo, with the benefit of hindsight.
Oh yeah, oh
What
yeah.
a,
Like at the time, while Crafty Shivoo won it, it was all about Undisputed, and here we are a
we
couple
were
of weeks
talking
later.
about Undisputed.
It's it just goes to highlight the strength of the two of them. No, it's just a wonderful race. I look forward to seeing them all. Droopy's nice one. Notable how okay, she's beaten it to fourth, but she has come on leaps and bounds through the competition. I get the sense that the Oaks came a couple of weeks too early for her. I think she's now sort of getting to her very best form, and step back up to 550 yards will really suit her, especially if she keeps trapping like she did the other evening. Easy Razzle, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. She looks a star of the future. And then, of course, the front two, Teresa's Mendoza. She's still a touch trap dependent. She wants that inside box, but when she is in there, you have to pay her respect. But Undisputed, this lady is, yeah, she's absolutely flying at present, and yeah, I wouldn't be ignoring her anywhere she goes. There's URI Summer Open 525, a wonderful addition to the calendar, Frank. €10,000 to the winner, and we had a good winner in the form of Churchtown Sid. He was a dog who'd shown plenty of promise in his early days when known as Mullingar Shuffle. Am I right? It's not on the card, is it? Oh,
Yeah,
it is
yeah, it is.
Mullingar
Yeah.
Okay,
Shuffle.
right, yeah, that's it.
Denis Fitzgerald, Michael Crotty, bought him since, and it took him a while to start racking up a win or two, but he won a stake at Shelbourne Park, seemed to get great confidence out of that. I think it was a 575 yard stake, and he was foot perfect through this competition, in truth. And the other night, obviously, he was aided greatly by Hawkfield Blue. Just, I don't know whether he went and then sort of fell on his belly, but he's left in traps, and Churchtown Sid third into the bend, but he's left second. And with the right one in front, off the second bend, there was only going to be one winner, and a nice pot for Denis Fitzgerald and Michael Crotty to pick up.
Yeah, some super pot 10 grand. So, and I see you say you want to stick around, you think it was 17 or 1800 quid for that as well. So, nice little money spinner, definitely. But we're paying some of the transfer fee. As you say, he's done it great. Like, he didn't show in front in any of the in the opening round. Done it well the previous week in the semi final, 28-39. I think was he's winning clock in it, and then say only third last week, but showed the gears and pace, and he's a decent little sort who's just going away nicely at his level, and a nice one to have in the kennel.
Yeah, Tommy, this would mean a lot to the boys.
Oh, big time, big time. Dennis is a very shrewd trainer, always has been. And Mick Crotty is a lad who's the man who's put a lot of money into the game over the years, and not afraid to put a few quid down to have a bet either when he fancies one of his. I was delighted with a huge cheer in Curraheen Park Saturday night when he hit the front, because you know how strong he stays. In fact, when Hoffley David was the one that led him around, you thought, you know what, this is teeing up nicely, and I think you were calling it in commentary as well. It was almost set
It,
up.
it was a
Hoffley
case of
David.
when rather than if.
Yeah, I thought the runner-up ran a cracking race, but
Yeah.
I was just delighted. It didn't happen for Capitan Garfi or for Ken Bustede. Ran a good race, but I just thought Churchtown Sid did everything right. He starts and he stays, and it's great for them. And another Droopy Sydney winner, which was a remarkable night. The first five home in the Oaks, the second, third, and fourth in the consolation, and the winner the 10,000 final as well.
Yeah, not a bad one. I just don't know where all these Droopy Sydney bitches are going to go in the future. There's going to be room for a cross somewhere along the line.
I tell
No,
you,
go ahead.
I tell you what will be interesting in about a month's time is the market for the top bitch in the Derby.
Yeah,
That'll be that'll be
that's
fiercely
exciting.
competitive.
That's going to be a hot one, all right. No, wonderful race, wonderful winner, Churchtown City. Congratulations to Denis and to Michael. Thoroughly deserved. And like that, I wouldn't say they bought him for big money. And he's now won over €16,000 in prize money. The vast majority of that is for Michael and Denis. Congratulations to them. Just a great card at Shelbourne Park. Liam Dowling had a very notable treble. Obviously, he kicked off proceedings with Ballymac Nunez, a dog who was having his sixth start. He's Ballymac Casio, Ballymac Minton, so he's a half brother to the bitch that was second in the Laurels, Tommy Ballymac Whisper. Ballymac Whisper. He did it right from the front, 28-14. I thought at the time maybe the track is flying, but the Oaks has won in 28-14, and we're shouting from the rooftops about her. So maybe he's worth giving a mention. He looks a very bright prospect. Looked green up to this point. The fact that he's been running over further suggests they think he's quite strong, but he showed plenty of early dash the other evening. And then I just want to mention the two novice 750 wins. The first 750 went to Garfinny Blaze, who's again Liam Dowling's breeding. Ballymac Anton, Ballymac Merkel. I'm more than familiar with the litter. One of them won the champion or the future champion down in Enniscorthy, and two or three of them have looked absolute world-beating stayers. One has gone over to Mark Wallace, and best of luck with Garfinny Blaze. This fellow looked really strong. 41.55 first time over the trip. Certainly nothing to be sniffed at there. I'm sure he'll be going into the Cork Cullen, where he would be amongst the top 5 or 6 in the betting, you would imagine. And then the other novice 750, Tommy, went to Ballymac Jonjo, and your big concern is when he gets loose in the bunny over 750 yards that he might do too much early and he wouldn't get home. He ran very wide, and I think that's where he gave away a bit of his time. But just the way he ran up the home straight, I was surprised. I thought it'd be quicker than 41.49, but it'd be no surprise to me if he did 41.10 the next night.
Well, I commented to somebody as it comes to the close of the race, that geez, he's galloping hard at the line. I thought he was really powering up the straight. For sometimes you see them tiring, the stride is just kind of, it's rhythmic, but he looked to me like he was trying to grab the ground. He was really trying to drive on. Yeah, I was surprised the time was 41.49, but I'd always forgive that and give him another chance. I have to mention too the Dazzle Rolex in the first 750 on debut.
Yeah.
Actually ran a cracker.
Obviously bred to stay. Dolores, Dolores going into a 750 with it on its debut sort of tells its own story. Yeah, I doubt it's led in too many of his trials. It won a distance last night in 28.68, and yet she stuck it into a 750, which would suggest like that it's very much all about stamina, and that played out. Got a couple of phone calls the next day. See, it's not down to Dolores on the card. And I said to them, that's with Dolores. So I don't know whether they're going to make the call or not. But yeah, very interesting one going forward. Frank, Cork Cullen coming up soon. A couple of nice stairs there to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely. He never saw those races, but again, he's had a strong hand the last couple of years in it. I mean, there's another one in that one. You say he's breeding to the fore of that other Garfinny dog as well. So yeah, it's going to be definitely going to be another interesting competition coming up, and it just seems to be we're coming to that time of the year now. It's just one after another. We run into the Derby.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, Ballymac Walt was a good winner for Liam Dowling. Born Warrior was sadly a non-runner. Nothing too major. I texted John Mitchell yesterday morning as much to try and organise a game of golf as to ask about the dog, but I said it's rude not to ask about the game about the dog. It's just a little bit sore in the muscle. He was fine. He was ready to go and just got off the bench yesterday morning, just a little bit, or Saturday morning, a bit sore in the muscle. So they'll give him another week or two. But all's well with him. And then the final race in the card won by Trinity Junior, picking up the other Kobe. I thought it was a good run by both Tommy. Just wouldn't be surprised now if they kick on from this.
Yeah, it's good to see Trinity Junior amongst the winners again. When he does it right, he's a fair dog. He didn't fly out the other night. We know he can break. We know he can break, but it's been a bit inconsistent. I think if he could get a consistency in that, he could go a long way in the Derby.
Yeah, that is his one sort of area where he just needs to pick up a little bit. It's just that initial yard, just the trapping.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Friday night, because the White Flash, one of the best, most talented greyhounds of recent years. Ballinbola Ed took charge early, or didn't take charge early, but was always in a lovely position behind the rapidly improving, it has to be said, Ballymac Samuel for Liam Dowling. He showed loads of speed, just a dog coming places, but Ballinbola Ed turned second, picked it up around the last two bends, and bang, goes on to win by 3 lengths at 29.23, 1 spot off the clock. This after doing 29.73 in the semis. Looked like he was going to blow away the cobwebs with that run, Tommy. I ignored the times completely because they just didn't really make sense in terms of the semi-final run. And yeah, Ballinbola Ed returned even money. I thought that was perfectly fair. He just showed exactly how good he is.
He's in ridiculous form. I think he's unbeaten all year. It might only be 6 or 7 runs, but he's unbeaten.
I think
this year.
That's 6 from 6, I think.
Yeah. So he coped well with the trap and everything. Like, he was able to get himself into a good position. He drove into the bend to move into second place, and that effectively hands him victory because he was following Ballymac Samuel down the back. I like to think that he was 1 spot off the track record, which was set by Explosive Boy in the semi-finals of this race back in 21, right? Raha Mofo ran the most remarkable. How did she get to within 3 lengths of the 29-23 winner from where she was?
Well, I have to ask you the question. I have to ask you the question. Like the previous week, Ballinbola Ed does 29.73 off the front. She's 6 or 8 lengths behind at the third bend and wins in 29.65. So she's clearly showing unbelievable speed and finishing strength in her races at the moment. You know, I'm sure the Derby will be on the agenda, but can we get her over 600 yards some night?
Well, I still can't tally her run. I know you kind of put it forward that maybe the sub 28 second run kind of left his mark. I'm not so sure about that. I think she's a bitch that's just capable of doing that. I can't understand how she got knocked out of the Oaks that night. She'd have been some addition to the final this year too. Would have made it fairly interesting, even more interesting.
She might be in that. She might be in that top bitch in the Derby market you were referring to earlier on.
Yeah, I think so. Somehow, they're 2 phenomenal runs. Ballinbola Ed is just like, we know what he is. He's let us down a few times when we thought he'd win derbies. But like, he's phenomenal when he's on form like that. He's just ridiculous. I mean, there's nothing going to come near him. And to get within 3 lengths, and 3 lengths is a long way in some ways. And yet, considering where Raha Moffa was at halfway, or still at the third bend, it was a remarkable effort in second place. I was talking to Tommy O'Donovan on Saturday night in Curraheen Park, and he was delighted with Radical Hero. Ran a super
absolutely.
Race.
Entitled to be. If you told me Ballinbola Ed was doing 29.23 out front, I didn't think Radical Hero would be within 5 lengths of him. To be beaten 4.5 is a hell of a run. He's a tidy little dog. He's only 65 pounds, but he's running well this year.
Yeah, he's had a couple of issues along the way, and he hasn't had an awful lot of racing recently. He's entitled to improve a little bit more. And he can break that a little bit better than that. We know that, we've seen that in the past. So he was delighted with that run, and rightly so. And I mean, to be fair, how he got picked up for second place is only because Raha Mofo was in sensational form.
Yeah, a freakish run again from her in defeat. Frank, Ballinbola Ed, we know so much about the dog, and from the outside looking in, God, it couldn't be much of a better preparation for the Derby, could it? Like, he's just tipping along lovely after picking up 2 big prizes. I would imagine Dundalk, and I would imagine the front 2 could easily clash in Dundalk. That's something to look forward to. But Dundalk is definitely on the horizon. I'm sure Pat has liked to target that race in the past. I think he's mentioned Dundalk already for Ballinbola Ed, and that's lovely. Another track, different sort of surroundings, and then bang to Shelbourne Park. Just it's coming into place.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just that they have the campaign well mapped out for him, and it's definitely going well. Like, writing was on the wall the other night whenever it turned so close, and it wasn't a matter of if we would work or when he was going to pounce, and they did pull away nicely. So both alluded to the effort from Raha Mofo, like where she came from the clay, she gave him 7 right behind at one stage, and she's definitely going to be a player in Dublin too. She as Tommy said, she has her moments. She put the odd funny one out of it every now and again, but definitely a pacey lady, and yeah, both fully warranted to have their place in the international. And Dundalk, you said, Pat has a decent record in it, and you can imagine that fella, if he navigate the first bend, if you're in that short run, if you just go over that and turn down the back straight, that place would be absolutely to his legging for it, just open up down there. And that definitely would be a fine stepping stone when you go for the Champions Stakes after. Probably not, you might just step that, go straight to Shell into the Derby then. But yeah, he's going to be a player if he keeps that level of form. As Tommy says, he does have the odd funny one in every now and again, but he's in top of his game at the minute, and definitely he's going to be thereabouts in the Derby. Like,
yeah, the Champions Stakes final is actually before Dundalk this year, which is so unusual, isn't it? Yeah, because the Derby is so much earlier.
The Derby's back.
Champions Stakes final is actually the 8th of July, which is crazy early when you think about it. And Dundalk 4 days later on the Wednesday, 4 days later on Wednesday. Maybe my dates are wrong there. Maybe it's Tuesday, the 12th. Actually, could be wrong there.
I think you're right. It's a Monday or Tuesday. You do say that in, yeah.
Yeah, July 12th is a Wednesday this year. Yeah, listen, a wonderful display by Ballinbola. Great to see him, obviously picking up a second big prize. This was the dog that hadn't won the big prize in 2022, and all of a sudden he's after picking up a classic and a race of champions, 2 massive pots. I'm sure Brendan Murphy was absolutely, happy as a pig in, whatever you want to call it. We'll move on. We look forward to seeing Ballinbola Ed and Rahamofo indeed, and a few of the other finalists in action in the very near future. Produce Stakes on Sunday evening, gentlemen. There was traffic in a couple of the races, and I'm not sure if you did manage to see them. I caught 2 of them and didn't get the third. Clonbrine Treaty, Tommy, we knew there was a run there. I'm still not sure he's run the place great. He was so wide into the opening corner, but for him to still do 28.09, I think Eddie alluded to it in commentary that it was the fastest sectional to the third bend of the year. He wins in 28.09 from Hookham, a dog who I have an awful lot of time for, beaten at the second. But Clonbrine Treaty, just a brilliant run.
Yeah, I still don't think he's back where he was in Limerick, even though the 28.09 run is obviously fantastic. Even off the last bend, it's what I often describe as he almost slid off the bend. He didn't physically slip or anything like that, but he just kind of,
the back end is coming underneath him. It's like a car going around a corner at speed, and the back end is sort of waving.
Yeah, and you have to make an extra effort to grab the ground a bit. I just didn't think he ran. Like, imagine if he did. I mean, what would he do? I thought. Look, what I thought from previous rounds with him was that there were still signs that the pace was there. All that pace was there, especially going down towards the third bend from 2 to not quite to 3, but 2 to almost the third bend. He was showing phenomenal pace, and then if there were dogs in front of him, he was kind of, watching what he was doing going around the bend in terms of where he was going to go and how he was going to try to tackle it. And he was losing ground and consequently not winning races. It's kind of confused me a little bit this run, because I really looking ahead to the final next week. I really have no idea where I stand with him.
That's fair enough. I just like the fact that he's coming forward, be it in his times rather than in the eye. He just looks like a dog that's probably not very much at home around Clonmel, but the fact that he can still do 28.09, beating the field that he did get around in front against that field, suggests that he's going to take the world of beating, as far as I'm concerned.
It'd be unusual for one of Graham's not to know Clonmel well and to what do you make of it, Frank? What would you think looking ahead to the final?
Yeah, it's hard to like say. He's kind of been a little bit out of form, looking enough to probably to squeeze through a couple of those earlier rounds. And one that didn't he win the Kirby from 1 leg? Now he's running from 6, which is say is a tighter circuit. Maybe that just doesn't play to his strengths in Clonmel, being that little bit of a tighter track. Like, but 28.09, it puts him compared to the other semi-finals. It gives him a bit of an advantage on the clock, and even drifting wide, he's still probably going to take all the beat. You'd imagine he'll still be favourite come, and the fact that he's in 6th, he's the only weight seed as well in it. So he's probably not where he was in Limerick, but I'd probably argue that he's maybe still just good enough to. He probably has a little bit more class maybe than the others to get the job done again next week, even though he just isn't back to where he was.
The issue with him is it's still probably when you look at his record, like his previous 2 runs in Clonmel, he does a 293 and a 296. The other night he does a 281. Prior to that, he 364 for the 550 in Shelbourne Park. Like, even in the Kirby, he put in the 2 good starts in the quarter and the semis. 132 which much better than his previous efforts, and then a 125 in the semis. That stunning run where he drifted right across the track from trap 1 where there was no dogs on his outside to do 28.15. Now, obviously, he won the final, but had to really charge into the corner after a moderate start at 135. So it's still the first 5 yards are vital importance. So get him out of traps and trapping. I have no doubt that if he gets his trapping right and he turns up at Shelbourne Park for the likes of the Derby, out in 5 or 6, I'd say there's very few that will be able to live with him. But it's a case of you have to get that first yard right, especially in Derby company. Like we saw Born Warrior last year, and he wasn't a great trapper for much of the year, and then bang, just started happening for him through the Derby, and the results are there. Coulivan Hoffa, the one night that he didn't get the lead, the one night that he didn't get off the front, he found trouble. These dogs need to get off the bunny or get off the front on the bunny, and that will be the key to Clonbrine Treaty. I think he'll do enough to win next week's final at Clonmel, but be very interesting to see. Looking at the other 2 semi-finals, Clona Shadow was bought. He was actually bought a few weeks ago by Kevin O'Brien. Kevin rang me last week and said, just let you know that Chasing Trooper, I own him. I just haven't got around to changing his name, given the fact that, Clona Duke is in England and stuff, and there's so much going on. That's fairly understandable. Looks a nice purchase for them. He won in 28.60 the other night. It just took it up on the sort of, he was prominent in the bend, took it up on the corner, went on to win in 28.60. Nice type of dog, Tommy. He's only a September whelp. A son of Malachy. These Malachys are running well.
He's only had 5 runs. I mean, and he's entitled to be stepping up. I think it's like he's got a great draw. I suppose when you consider, if you were to look at the sections now, I think when the section is below 3 seconds, like the 283s and that, it's almost too short to really get a good gauge of it, because it's more going into the first bend that you'd be give you an idea. I'd love to know what they are for the 6 finalists, because I mean, if you're looking at their sections, like from 6 back to 1, 281, 284, 283, 285, 283, 283. That tells you to be 6 of them going going past the line together, and what will be able to make a full length out of going into the first bend or not, I don't know. Thomas Shadow has the best of the draw. I don't know that Hookham will do a 283 again. I have him down more as a stayer, and a seriously good stayer at that. Our Mystery's in great form. Burgess Supreme's in great form, but probably is a very tricky draw. I don't know. I don't know. I like the quality of it. I like the potential of it. Find it funny that they take 10 spots off when a dog is 28.09 though.
Yeah, that's true. And he's going to stay wide because, like, Burgess Supreme is in 5. He ran well from 6 the other night, but he did go up reasonably straight. He sort of edged in on the corner a bit, but we know he's going to go up. He's pretty consistent. He's probably one of the most consistent starters in the lineup. But you get the sense that if Clonbrine Treaty traps well and is prominent on the outside, he's going to stay wide enough, certainly, to avoid any traffic on his inner, you'd hope. And that could be the key to the race. But no, that race, of course, will be on RPG TV on Sunday. Produce Stakes is live on RPG TV on Sunday, so make sure to tune in for that one. Tommy, I'll let you just reference the Denis Linehan Solicitors Unraced stake at Curraheen Park. Some very fast youngsters in it. The Robert Gleason dog is at Flightline.
Druby Flightline.
He's obviously immensely fast. Where's he doing his running?
It's not from the it's not to the bend anyway. Even though he led the other night, 347 would be modest. I'm sure he'd probably improve upon that, but he's doing some running from there. He did 28.17 in qualifying, did 28.20 the other night. He popped out, edged across a little bit. Maybe just maybe he's a dog that might like 2 or 3 and kind of get a better angle into the bend for him and shave a few more spots off it. Clearly, he's like, if you do 28.20 second time up, you're immensely talented. I actually thought the runner-up Penny's Links ran a cracking race as well. But like he's obviously seriously fast, but you just like to see him take another. I mean, even 7 spots off the 347 wouldn't be enough. You need to be taking about 15 or 16 to be kind of real open class early pace. But look, it's hard to say that a dog with only 2 runs under his belt that isn't going to fly out some night and be a breaker. He can be that yet. You'd hope that there'd be a lot left to come from him and a lot left. Robert's a good trainer and he knows he'll have left plenty to work on. So he couldn't be any better bred. Droopy's Curio. Did you tell me she had track record on debut and then she had another track record later on?
She did. She's the clock in both Newbridge and Waterford, but the track record in Newbridge was the was on debut 28:07 or something like that. That wasn't the same stake as Unlock and Lock. They didn't actually finish the stake. They were the two standout stars in it. And when you see Unlock and Lock producing the likes of Undisputed winning the other night, and here down in Curraheen, you have Druppy's Flightline taking off in 28:20. Hugely fast greyhounds, hugely fast pups. It's, that's what I'm saying about the British. I don't know how they're going to compete with our breeding. It's over the next few years. All these bitches are going to be throwing superstars, and something to look forward to. Penny's Lynx is obviously a Druppy Sydney out of Jetstream Lynx, so a half brother to Susie Sapphire, and his little brother Jatara. I would have said nearly gave a length in terms of to the eye to Druppy's Flightline at boxes. This is in the second heat, of course, but the early speed he showed in the outside, Tommy, to do 28:26, he looks a proper tool.
He was fiercely impressive. Again, yeah, he was quicker to the line, but he can probably break a bit better than that too. He was well backed as well. I think it was well expected. I was kind of the one that caught my eye was the Orchid Legacy again. Not that just nothing went right. Nothing went right. I thought that's a dog that has plenty to give later on. The other heat, the next heat, that Dale Road Duke. Another one that was very well backed, despite the fact that there was a Castle Duke not Castle Duke, sorry, where am I? Cool Derry Dust was odds on favourite, sorry. There was a lot of money actually for the winner, Dale Road Duke. I thought he was quite impressive as well. It was a really good nice racing actually.
The last of the four heats was won by High Trend. Druppy Sydney had a beaming smasher, member of a very fast litter. Obviously, Peepers Lariat, who was running so well in the early rounds of the English Derby, is the same litter. And Mary Smasher, Mary Champion, who's one of the brightest prospects in the UK. So, member of a fast litter, he can clearly run himself. Didn't lead early, but got there in the closing yards to win. Although went up fast, 3:25, but second on the back straight.
Actually,
wins in 28:47. Obviously, a very nice prospect, Tommy.
Yeah, Druppy Zelda went to the front. They were neck and neck down to the first two bends, and Druppy Zelda kind of, even though she got trouble, Druppy Zelda went to the front down the back, and you kind of thought it might be over. I suppose he never really took much notice of it, and it's very late to the party. But God, Druppy Sydney has big dogs, doesn't he? He breeds big dogs.
He can do. Yeah, they can all run. That's the main thing.
Well, no, they're seriously fast, which is it's a great combination. But like nearly all 80-pounders or 80-pound plus, not quite Destiny's Fox kind of dogs, but they're big, they're impressive kind of dogs. High Trend. I mean, you can take a good bit off the 28:47 because they had to kind of, Druppy Zelda wanted the inside and got by him, caused him a little bit of trouble. She caused herself trouble too because she cost herself a bit of time too. But I think that was a terrific run.
I want to mention the third dog in that race. I got a DM from Hawaii. Mike O'Dwyer sent me a text, and he just said rural wildcat punctuation mark. Missed the kick completely, but he's right on their heels at the line. He showed all sorts of pace. So he's clearly very, very fast and very well thought of. So yeah, it looks like Graham Holland might have a couple to go to war with still. He had a couple of good winners, or a couple of good runners in. It looks a very strong renewal of the competition, Tommy.
Oh, it does, yeah. You wouldn't be surprised if the track allows, if 28 seconds was broken in the next couple of weeks. It is very good.
Gentlemen, we'll finish off proceedings this evening by looking at the English Derby. Frank, Ireland have 6 through to the semi-finals. We had only 4 last year at this point. All is looking rosy in the world. Swords Rex was once again thoroughly professional. Is he the dog to beat?
Yeah, definitely. It looked a little ropey, I suppose, after the first couple of heats. After when you had 5 involved, 3 and a bit the dust, and all of a sudden you were just seeing the wheels coming off. But normal service was resumed with
thank God
Swords Rex, and then we kicked on, and 6 through, stronger numerically than last year. Graham's left with 4, and listen, he's the one he's going to have to beat. He has to put his unbeaten record in the lane against the other unbeaten dog this week. It's like the second semi-final looks a two-dog race, but just seems to probably have the edge on the clock. He's doing everything right. I think that's 6 on the bounce now. Is it Towcester? Did he win 2 trial stakes as well?
No, he was beaten in his first trial stake, but he won a second trial stake in a track record breaking time. Yeah, so that's 5 on the spin. Yeah,
5 on the bounce, and so like he's just in some form. He's taken to the place, and he's showing the early pace. He's going to be out and gone again, and that probably will be the key to him getting the better of Romeo Command. And he looks to win the beat, and it's starting to shape that it could be back to backs.
Oh, yeah, it'd be nice. I won't get the trumpet out just yet, Tommy. We're still getting over the heartbreak of Ballinbola Ed last year, trading at 7-4 prior to his defeat, prior to his elimination in the outright market. But Swords Rex looks every inch a 6-4 chance at the head of the market.
Yeah, he's best price 7-4. Not to want to put a jinx on it for you, Ian, but he's best price 7-4. He's a general kind of 6-4 chance, and deservedly so. He is just like I've said for the last few weeks. He's just making it look easy, and that's the biggest compliment you can pay to a greyhound. It
It
just
just,
looks
as you
simple.
said, it just looks effortless. It just, bang.
It's
Okay, even if I didn't take an absolute flyer, I will just accelerate away from top class greyhounds and make it look so easy, as you said.
And the beauty of this is we haven't always seen it, or he hasn't always had the opportunity to have a long run, a long clear run at racing, and this is showing how good he is. His opportunity to show how good he is. Graham Holland's opportunity to show how good the dog is as well, and he's doing it in some style. I just love the way he's striding to the bend. It doesn't even look like he's making that effort to get there. He's up and in flow in you know split second, and he's away and gone. It's quality to watch.
He's racing from Trap 5 the next night. I don't think it'll be an issue to him. They showed the head-ons after the races. The night he raced from Trap 4 in Towcester, I tend to just keep an eye on the boxes in behind, and he never veered away. Like the 4 boxes always right on his tail in terms of the video you're watching on the head-on. So Trap 5 shouldn't be an issue. He's raced from Trap 5 once, and that was in Curraheen in the early rounds of the Laurels last year. And if you're going around Curraheen from Trap 5, against the speed that you're taking on around there, I don't think it's a big concern. He ran actually from 6th in the final, was only beaten a length into 3rd behind Good Cody. So it's testament to the fact that he can run from the outside of the track, and his record from Trap 4 is actually pretty stunning. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the draw. Behind him, Ballymac Finn, he's beaten 8.5 lengths, but Tommy, it may sound strange to say, I thought it was a bit more encouraging, because the previous round was just so poor. Now Liam is on record saying there is a touch of kennel sickness there, and obviously Ballymac Finn was affected by it. Now maybe he's still not handling the place. I'm not sure. I don't see it that way. He just doesn't seem to be showing any real of his sparkle.
No, he's not. Apart from he showed it to about 50 yards into the back straight, where you thought, you know what, he's closing down on Sword Rex just a little bit, and thereafter he kind of went backwards, not terribly, but just gradually went backwards from there to kind of to finish third. Look, he's not running the dog he was in the Derby last year. That's fine if there is a touch of kennel sickness. There's not a lot you can do about it. Liam is ridiculously good at kind of bringing dog through stakes, and not necessarily dogs winning every heat. Do you know what I mean? He just has this knack of being able to bring them through quietly and have them peak for the right time. So, even though I can't see at this stage that he can win the competition, he's just too far off the pace at the moment. You kind of be looking beyond this and looking to the Irish Derby with the likes of him. Just on Swords Rex and Trap 5, I have no issue whatsoever. If anything, he's stepping out to his right, even from 3 and 4 when he was inside in 3 and 4 in this competition too. He's stepping out to the right. You're saying he's dead in line with Trap 4. 5 is not much difference, considering he's got the most consistent early pace of those in the semi-final heat. It looks to me like he can do what he likes.
Yeah, we'll work backwards. Heat 3 saw Gaytime Nemo landing the spoils for Brendan O'Connell, and of course Graham Holland. What they do, the O'Connell family with these dogs, Frank, like they breed their own. Like this fellow's out at Gaytime Derval. I think Graham thinks a lot of him. This was definitely a big run from the other night, because he didn't fly out. He just showed the best early speed to get to the front, and once doing so, it was game over.
Yeah, you run a decent race now. I think was that turn the banks for him. Did he win the before that as well? No, he didn't. He finished third.
No, he was third from Trap 1 the previous week.
Second win in the competition. He won the first round.
Second,
yeah, Trap 5. You thought maybe that would have been a little bit of an inconvenience, but flashed out and showed plenty of early pace, and this was as good as over early doors. Sub 29 second run into the bargain was a massive plus, and he normally just seems to be finding his feet now at the right time. Feeling at least enough pitch now again in his semi-final, and be no surprise if he were to follow up. You'd imagine he should get first run. Probably a little bit to do to hold Mystical Mario to the corner, but if he's within touching distance to him, could give him, may just edge him coming home. and definitely just hitting form at the right time as well, and a nice little bit of backup to Swords Rex for Graham.
Yeah, big time. Tommy, this fellow, he was basically off the track for 6 months prior to the English Derby commencing. He's looking week on week, just tiptoeing along, coming along nicely. No surprise to me if he went even faster.
No, but surprisingly enough, his two defeats were in from trap one.
Yeah,
and I fancied him one night, thinking he couldn't help but get a lovely run along the inside, and then kind of missed it slightly and was kind of chasing shadows after that. He's in great form though, and it's great for the O'Connells, as you said, Ian.
yeah.
It's the semi final is desperately competitive. That one.
Yeah,
Difficult to catch.
he's gonna need to get his best start, because we know the Mystical Mario is going to go very fast. You'd imagine Burj Khalifa is going to get a lovely run on the outside, and then you've Clonmel and Ballymacfin just on your outside, and we know exactly how good they are. Although a little bit of a cloud over both of them, perhaps. Gay Time Nemo, yeah, a good winner. It didn't happen for Ballymacmarino. He was the even money favourite and missed the kick and was rushing up into the corner and found bad traffic. Tommy, it didn't happen for him. But Jack Tavern-Bella running a huge race to be finished, or to be beaten just ahead for second spot. If you told me at the start of the year that Jack Tavern-Bella would be an English Derby semi-finalist, like I'd be calling the lads in the white coats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. She's in super form. She's and you know what? She has a great makeup as well to qualify for the final, doesn't she?
She, yeah, she doesn't. She needs things to go right around the opening two bends, because there are
Yeah,
strong
yeah,
runners. There are strong
yeah.
runners around her, and she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to be trying to pick them up. But if she minds her p's and q's, she could well be in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's the way I'd be reading this. There's no obviously the competition with the inside dogs is going to tell a lot, or because you'd imagine Sword Rex and Romeo Command might be gone. And it's after where she can position herself then, but like she's in such good form, she's so determined. To be a brave man to say she won't get into the final.
the boys are living the dream, Frank. They're one race away from an English Derby final. They'll be crossing toes, fingers, noses, whatever they can cross. They'll be doing it. Jack Tavern-Bella running so strongly. Would be wonderful to see her get to the final.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's as good a chance as any. Like, the race plays out how we all expect it to. It's Swords Rex from Romeo Command, and then it's any one of those of the other quartet should finish third. She's finishing strong, decent enough clock last week, and she's doing nothing wrong. And it could just play to her, because she's going to probably have plenty of room to move. Those two on her out are going to be gone, so every chance of qualifying. Listen, you can't rule either of the other three out as well, because it's just whoever gets that little bit of a dream run in behind. But she's going to have room to maneuver. She finished powerfully last week, and another droopy Sydney. It'd be no surprise to see her make the final as well.
Yeah. Clonmel in Heat 2 was second. Ballyhimmock and Leo crashed out. Romeo Hanzo crashed out. Hanzo was second into the opening corner behind the flying starter, Mystical Mario. For the size of him, he can really race to a corner. Like, he's 39 kilos. What's that? That's like 85 pounds in around that. Like, big dog. He's light and quick at boxes. He made every inch of the running in the second heat, but I thought Clonmel ran much more encouragingly in defeat this time. The day I was speaking to Kevin O'Brien, didn't hear it from Graham or Nicky now, it must be said, but he suggested that he was, again, maybe that bit of that kennel sickness floating around. Perhaps that was the case with Clonmel. I thought he ran much more encouragingly the other night. He's still going to need to find his trapping boots, but I think after last week's run, I'd be much more encouraged going forward. I just wouldn't be surprised if we saw him back to something close to his best in the semi-finals. He needs to beat Tommy, but definitely a better run from him in defeat than the previous week.
Yeah, better run, but he needs to get out of boxes, or he could find himself in a lot of trouble. You have Gaytime Nemo inside, you have Ballymacfin on the outside, and you'll have Mystical Mario will probably be off in front. Burj Khalifa will, as you said, probably looks like he'll get a great run. He's like, he has a 398 there. Was that in the first round, or was that prior to the derby? Was it the first round?
That was in the first round. He broke the track record in the opening round.
Yeah, first round. He's got phenomenal ability, and you say, even though that's a red hot, even though that's a competitive heat, you'd say he was an absolute certainty if you thought he was back to his best. You'd say he was an absolute stone cold, and you'd have pounds, shillings, pence on him, and you'd put it down, pick it up, and the whole lot. I just don't know whether I'd be facing into him now, though. I still don't know. I think I'd rather take a chance on him in the final at whatever price he'd be in the final, knowing that he's there, rather than take a chance now at whatever. I think he's about 7-1 third favourite at the
Yeah,
moment.
7-1. 7-1 is about the price you can get.
Yeah.
Frank, what's your opinions on Clonmel?
Yeah, like at the start, we have it's definitely got potential. I mean, the Puppy Derby last year, he seemed to be lined up for the Kirby. Went a little bit of miss for him then after a couple of smart runs. And again, Derby set the standard in track record and looked one that was going to be hard to beat. Looked him and Source Rex were going to carry the flag. The have still, he's still there, so he's not out of it. Like, but 441 section in the second round. Hasn't sort of bounced back from that after missing that break. And okay, he's 414, 420 the last couple of weeks. You're giving up which got 2 or 3 lengths to some of those who are doing those 4 days or 405 sections, and that's big at this level because a couple of lengths here or there early doors making a break of whether you're still in the mix or not. Listen, classy animal, and if as Tommy says, if you thought he was back to that first round run at what was he feel about 9 to 4, 5 to 2 on Saturday night, you'd be all in and you'd be hoping to collect. But I'd imagine Daytime Nero should probably have his measure going to the corner on the last couple of weeks run. And if that's the case, he's gonna have to dig deep to qualify. He could do, but I just wouldn't like to be betting him for the win at this stage. And maybe Tommy's right. It could be a dog. It could be one to play with a week, kind of that week over and back into the final, and then you know, get them completely teed up for a final. It could be a different dog then in 7 days' time, provided he makes the final.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I pressed up a little bit enough since the run the other night. I was encouraged, I must say, and I think he's in the easier of the 2 heats. Although he's not in the right spot in the heat, I'd sooner him in 3, maybe with the Gaytime Nemo just a little bit further away from, because I think Gaytime Nemo will edge off slightly. But again, taking a chance that Clonmel sort of hits the lids. The opening heat saw Boyle Sports Gift sadly crash out. The 2 slow starters on his inside pinged out straight to the middle. He was the meat and the sandwich. He was given no chance to run. Romeo Command got loose, but he was made to work for it because Burj Khalifa is absolutely motoring. Really does seem to love Towcester. You know, big, the biggest dog in the Derby. You know, he's even bigger than Mystical Mario. But massive run for him. You know, Brendan Matthews, you know, the maestro, Chris Sauer, the man that owns the dog, is living the dream. He was over there. Obviously, he's quite friendly with the likes of Wayne McCarthy and the boys. So yeah, he was happy out. And Burj Khalifa, say it, lads, I think he's going to be in the Derby final. Tommy?
I think you're right. I think he's going to find a way in. There's a lot to like about the way he's running. Thought he was impressive the previous week. Thought the other night he ran a cracking race. Romeo Command he did absolutely everything right and was impressive in his own way. Don't think it was a particularly strong heat. If I had to pick one negative out, I don't think it was a particularly strong heat, but they were in a to my mind they were in a different class. And you know, I think he qualified for the final. I think he's a great makeup.
Yeah, it's a long time since I was back in January 28th in an A2 at Shelbourne Park. Last minute on the tote, he was about 11 to 10. Should have been about 1 to 10, and he was returned 4 to 7. But I think the tote paid about 210 that night. It was lovely. Frank, he's only won once since then, believe it or not. That was in the quarterfinals last week when winning by 5 lengths. But this is just the dog that's loving life, loving Towcester.
And it's great to see the Matthews getting a run. For the last 4 or 5 years, they've really targeted English Derby. You nearly feel that they've even sort of started gone down that route of they're nearly breeding for it as well. They're looking to find a dog to take a Towcester, and
they're really supporting the venue. I think yeah. They really want to get behind it. They're doggy men through and through, and they know that in order for greyhound racing in Ireland and England to be a success, Towcester needs to be a success. And they have done all they can. Like, they've targeted every nearly big 4-bend competition over there.
Yeah, Puppy Derby in 2 or 3 occasions as well. Didn't Innocent Times that he was second.
He was second. Yeah, to Magical Bale, actually, I think.
Yeah, so they've really given it their all, and you know, it'd be lovely to see him get one through to the final. Met with a strong team this year, and he's arguably was maybe the one they've expected still to be in the hunt.
Well, this was the dog they sold. And he had moved kennel, and it was a case of, well, we're going to Towcester, and the owner said, well, would you mind bringing my dog? I may well go back to Davy Reynolds or Eamon Reynolds after this. I don't know, but he's running. He's just running at the top of his game, and yeah, could easily be in the final. Frank, what's going to win the English Derby?
I think you probably have to be with swords, and as you said, don't want to put the hoodoo on you, but like, he's just doing everything right. And as you both remarked, it's been flawless. Like it's as if there's no effort, and that if he was forced to crank up to a sixth or seventh gear, that he could nearly do it. Like, and all right, he's going to get a real test in Saturday with the best of the English dog with that Romeo command, but I think he masters that. He goes into the final favourite, and I say I don't think it would make a difference. I'd still the sort of dog he can pop out from any box, even if he did land what might quote an unfavourable draw. And listen, he's the one to beat. He's doing everything right at the minute. Don't let Duke of his back to his best, but definitely their track record hold up. But we have that little bit of a doubt about him at the minute. He's just not where he was. You can probably pick holes in one or two of the others. You look to that second semi-final, there's a lot of those who are going to be trying to come off the pace. So he's going to be out and gone. And yes, he's the one to beat at this stage.
Yeah. Tommy, hard to disagree.
I can't disagree. Like I prefer if he gets to a final, I'd want him in kind of the middle of the track, maybe 3 or 4. I don't want him inside in 1 if he gets that far, even though he can fly from it. I suppose he's just so used to run the middle of the track in Towcester as well, and he's running it so well. I think he will. I think he'll just have too much pace. Actually, you know what? The makeup of the race on Saturday night is brilliant for viewers, because you've Romeo Commando with effectively 3, not flying starters inside him. He should have no problem getting clear run. And then what we've been seeing from Swords Rex in the last few weeks, the effortless manner in which he's been running to the bend and clearing greyhounds and leaving them all behind, has it's taken my eye out, and I'd expect the same again. But it'll be brilliant because Romeo Command should get a solo as well. It's going to be a cracking race. I just think that Swords Rex is too good. I haven't availed of any bet. I haven't had a bet in the competition. Should have listened to you when you were talking about the 20-1 there for a few weeks. I know the trumpet will be here next week. I won't be around, thanks be to God. So I don't
Tommy,
have to
the
listen to it.
day that I've said it 100 times, and this isn't trumpet, but the day he was announced that he was going, the second he should have been cut to 6-1. He should have been 6-1 clear favourite. Simple as, because we all knew he'd trade short at some point. For him to be 20-1 behind some of the greyhounds that were ahead of him from the UK just didn't make sense to me now, or you, or anybody. And you just couldn't. It was one of those, you either had to pull the trigger or not, because you knew it wasn't going to last, and it didn't last. And here we are. He's 7-4, as you say, best price to win it. Could be shorter. I think there's, funny enough, a little bit of juice in that 7-4, because if he traps like he has been doing, he goes round in the front and he wins handy. He gets 2 or 3 in the final. He's going to be 4-6.
If he wins, Barry Call will be commentating for the entirety of the Irish Derby. You'll be in Barbados and Sandy Lane for
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Anyway, the very best of luck to our 6 representatives in the Star Sports TRC English Greyhound Derby. We've certainly been delighted with how you've been flying the flag, and may luck continue for you. We have 3-3 in both semi-finals. Is there a chance? Is there a chance, as Jim Carrey once said? You're telling me there's a chance? Any chance of 6 finalists?
Sydney's.
Wow. God, potentially.
3 of them in each heat too.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think we'll have 6. But you know what? We'd settle for 4, wouldn't we? I think we've had 4 finalists in something like 5 of the last 6 years or 7 years. It's something phenomenal. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Imagine be something similar again. 4 looks the magic number.
Yeah, 4 does look.
Well, if I had to bet right now, I'd say 3. But 3, it's either 3 or 4.
Okay, we got 4 through last year from 4 semi-finalists. So we've 6 this year. You never know. Anyway, that's it from all of us here on Talking Dogs on a Monday. My thanks once again to the Exile Dub, and of course to Frank Kiernan. Frank, busy week or taking a handy?
Yeah, it might settle a little bit now. Do a few reports now on the winners. Contact a few of those now, and it might be a little bit quieter than it has been for the last couple of weeks, but not for long. The Derby around the corner, and not be long, cranking up again. So there's always plenty to write about. So now it'll be a steady enough week now.
Yeah, we look forward to it. I'm off to play golf today, so wish me the very best of luck. I haven't swung it in about 8 months, so it might be ugly, but that sums up my golf game in general. That's it though, gentlemen. Again, my thanks. We've seen a wonderful Oaks success from Crafty Shivoo. Of course, our thanks once again to Sporting Press. 32 years sponsoring the Bitch Classic, and they were served up an absolute thriller this year. A wonderful, wonderful winner. We wish her the very best of luck. Best of luck to all the runners in the final of the Produce Stakes at the weekend. Congratulations to the likes of Ballinbola Ed and his connections winning the race champions. And of course, the best of luck to our 6 runners in the Star Sports TRC English Greyhound Derby. Busy week in Greyhound racing, and it's not stopping anytime soon. We'll be back next week here on Talking Dogs. But for now, good luck, good evening, God bless.